Why not make a Philippine fowl? A Philippine native chicken that is bigger and better fighter. Yes, it can be done. But first, what is a native chicken? What is the meaning of native? For our purpose, native could mean the indigenous inhabitants of a place, or introduced to a place and inhabited the place for a long period of time. In some dictionaries it could also mean born in a particular place. But to us this definition should not apply to native chicken. The hybrids with foreign breeds, the imported breeds, regardless hatched here in the Philippines, cannot be called Philippine native chicken. A native chicken is a native to a place. Yes. But native in this case also has another meaning. Like naked or bare. Or natural. Native chicken is unaltered. Or not genetically modified. Not even by specific purpose breeding. A native chicken should be a natural chicken which is inherently and essentially a multi-purpose fowl. Native chicken is a chicken unaltered in appearance and purpose. A native chicken should look like chicken. It should pack flavor like the good old chicken. And, in the first place, could fight well. And intrinsically game like all chickens were at the onset. For example, the oversized Cornish crosses, called broilers, although they came from Indian game, don't look like chicken anymore, because they look like inflated airbags with feathers. The broilers don't taste like the old good chicken, because, without lots of seasoning and a good chef, they taste like air. Definitely broilers can't fight. They can hardly stand, let alone fly and kick. These broilers are never native to any place. They are manufactured in so-called chicken factories, in many different places in the world. Therefore, broilers can never be native chicken. On the other hand, a native chicken we are developing, the Philippine fowl, looks like chicken, tastes like chicken, and fights like chicken. It is made in the Philippines by Filipinos, and it is inhabitant of the Philippines. Most important is the fact that a big part that constitutes the Philippine fowl comes from genes of native chicken that is indigenous to the Philippines. A small part comes from native chicken introduced to the Philippines, thanks to the process of return breeding. Indeed, the Philippine fowl is a chicken good for the table and good for the pit, as what chickens are supposed to be. So, hold your breath, a Philippine fowl is coming. The Philippine native chicken, PNC, is the supposed king of the free range. But due to lack of real profit in raising native chickens, farmers settle for free-range chicken farming in the Philippines. Native chicken was our fighting chicken. But when the American game, which is much better fighter, came, we discarded the native chicken as fighters. But what if we can develop a modern native chicken that can provide real profit to farmers? Because it is bigger with more meat to sell, and better fighter that it can also be sold as gamecock. The idea is to create a native chicken that can earn real profit for chicken farmers and raisers. The object should be a native chicken that can grow big enough to be profitable, if solely sold as meat. However, since cockfighting is legal in the Philippines, it will be more profitable if some roosters shall be good enough to be sold as fighting cocks for much higher prices. PNC strains were our game fowl in the past. Besides, there is the American game, the English game, the Irish game, also Spanish game, Burmese game, and many others. Yet, despite the country is regarded the cockfighting capital of the world, there is no Philippine game. Why don't we make one? Long before the Spaniards came to the Philippines, our ancestors were already engaged in cockfighting. They were using native chickens as gamecocks, not the American. Then in the last century, the AG came, and the native chickens were neglected. Filipinos who were then breeding gamecocks utilized for knife fighting not the native chicken anymore, but the much better AG, called Texas in its early days in the Philippines. Chickens were first domesticated not for eating, but for fighting. Therefore all chickens were originally fighting cocks. But different breeds of chickens evolved accordingly. Some evolved into better fighting breeds such as the American game, the Irish game, the English game. Others became layers, or broilers, or meat-class chickens such as the Leghorns, the Cornish cross, and Jersey Giants. The native chicken was left alone. The native chicken remained a fighting chicken, waiting to be developed into a better fighting chicken. Of course, reverting the white Leghorns, or the Jersey Giants into fighting chickens is difficult because these breeds have been transformed, drastically far from being fighting chickens, into layers and meat chickens. But the native chicken is still a fighting chicken. Not too difficult to turn into good fighting chicken. The native chicken was just simply neglected. Meaning, it was just that no further development of its fighting traits were attempted for decades. Because of the advent of the American game, which is far better and thus preferred by gamblers and breeders. Actually, it may not take very long to come up with a superior native chicken. A native chicken that is much better fighter, gamer and bigger. Stabilizing its traits though, will take several generations more. Airbase Ugbo is developing a Philippine fowl. However, it is not alone in developing a modern native chicken. The idea to develop Philippine native chicken strains into improved farm chicken or game fowl is not new. Attempts were tried in the past, are being tried now, and will be tried in the future. What is new, however, is the technique with which we are creating the RBS Philippine fowl. The RBS-PF is product of return breeding system. The process we call return breeding system is the novelty. The common strategy is to cross native chicken with another breed. Say Kabir, if developing an improved meat-type chicken. Or the American game, if developing a better game fowl. They call it improved native chicken. But actually it is no longer native chicken but a cross, or F1 hybrid between native chicken and the introduced breed. Then they breed back to the introduced breed to further improve size or fighting ability, producing a generation which is 3/4 the new breed and 1/4 native chicken. Still they call it upgraded native chicken, when in fact it is no longer native chicken, but another breed of chicken infused with 1/4 native chicken. Then they go further up to 7/8 or 15/16. So the produce might be bigger or better fighter, but it is no longer native chicken. Some will still call it native chicken. How come? The influence of native chicken is diluted to practically nothing. It's no longer native chicken, not even improved, nor upgraded native chicken, because it is not a native chicken anymore. For a bloodline to still qualify as native chicken, the proportion of the native blood should be more than that of any other bloodline in the blend. A new bloodline should be considered as new strain of the breed with the most blood proportion in any blend. If the bloodline's genetic composition is not dominantly native chicken, then it is not a strain of a native chicken. Return breeding also involves infusion and the subsequent breeding back. Surprisingly, however, the breeding back procedure is not to the upgraded breed, but rightly to the native chicken. Because we are after developing a new native chicken, not merely infusing native chicken blood into a foreign breed. The objective is three-pronged, namely meat, egg, and, for Filipino farmers to be able to take advantage of the lucrative game fowl industry, not as gamblers but as producers. Thus, we conceptualized, devised, and employed a breeding procedure that started with upgrading, followed by increment back breeding, and finished with a series of positive assortative mating. This process, which we call return breeding, is a novelty. A novelty in the means of carrying out the end. Return breeding is an essentially natural breeding method that harnesses natural ways, including the age-old principles of natural selection mating process, normal in the wild. The Philippine Fowl is coming. The Philippine Fowl project is not for money-making. We are not in this business for business. Our main goal is to boost Philippine native chicken farming by propagating the Philippine fowl. In due time we will make the PF available to other PNC farmers. We will share its potential. Because the more farmers involved, the faster the proliferation. RBS Philippine Fowl is an advocacy. The Philippine Fowl is both an idea and advocacy. Idea and advocacy that we will continue to promote and support. When the time comes we are ready, and you decide to raise the PF, we will be with you every step of the way. Hence, products of our constant research, development, and upgrading of stocks will all be made available to you PF raisers. You shall also have access to results of our updated studies. You are always welcome to consult with us and share notes. If you haven't tried selling roosters for game, we have some valuable tips, and we will continue to guide you in this respect. PF venture is viable even without selling for cockfighting. However, it would help a lot if you can sell some PF stags as fighting cocks, particularly in the early stages of your venture. While building up your production capability by keeping the females, sales from the males are vital. We will lend a helping hand on this aspect. The game fowl industry in the Philippines is huge. RBS Philippine Fowl is hope. We are hopeful that we can help generate farmers' awareness and interest in growing native chicken, because this time there will be real profit in it. With small or no profit, farmers don't raise native chicken. They look elsewhere and settle for compromise breeds, for free-ranging. With real profit, farmers will raise more native chickens, and it will help stabilize supply, which in turn will result in more stable and greater demand for native chicken. However, this is not only about coming up with a breed or strain of native chicken that grows big or fights well. It is all about the return of the Philippine native chicken as the most ideal breed for natural raising and free-ranging, and as undisputed champion of the Filipino palate. This is not just about profit. It involves Filipino pride. Now other breeds of chicken are lording over the free range. At present there is necessity for compromise breeds. We are trying to remove this necessity. We hope that soon enough the Philippine native chicken will reclaim its rightful place in chicken farming in the Philippines. Mabuhay ang Philippine Fowl.